Call to order the Wheeling Plan Commission for Thursday, March 22nd, 2012. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the Secretary please take the roll?
Surely. Commissioner Burns?
Here.
Commissioner Dorbin?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Fotto, I'm here. Commissioner Schaaf?
Here.
Commissioner Steinle?
Here.
And Chairman Maloney.
Here. I got a problem. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
You have a revised agenda in front of you dated March 19th, noting the continuation of item D, docket number 2012-3, to be continued to April 12th. There's a note under the approval of minutes that those minutes listed in the agenda, the March 8th minutes, are not available at this time. We'll cover that when we get to that item in the agenda. I believe that covers all of the changes that we have.
Thank you. Items for review, docket number PC 12-11 and SCBA 12-16, McDonald's 1335 Lake Cook Road. PC 12-11 is a minor site plan and appearance approval for drive-through modifications, and SCBA 12-14 is appearance approval for drive-through signs. Mr. Jennings?
There are no additional staff comments. If the petitioner could come forward.
Speaking into the microphone, would you give your name and business address, please?
Suzanne Conley, 1355 Lake Cook Road, Wheeling, Illinois.
Thank you. You have the floor. No?
You can't leave.
Okay, darn it. I thought it was going to be that easy. We're petitioning to expand the drive-through, make more capacity in the...
You're going from one drive-through to two?
To two. The standard for McDonald's moving forward is to try and put two wherever they fit.
Okay. We'll start with Commissioner Dorband.
Thank you. Well, I looked through the what you had, and I certainly see the need over there.
Yeah, thank you.
It gets very, very busy and gets backed up a lot. The only question I had was in the landscaping. Will you irrigate that section somehow, some way? Because,
yes.
I mean, that's going to be a tough spot to keep
Well,
water.
I haven't seen the final plans, but that would be what I would expect. So.
Okay. And I saw perennials and some other things, but I didn't see any annuals. Had you planned on putting some color in there for the summer?
We use Countryside, and they come to both Wheeling locations.
Okay. And like I said, I certainly see the need. Just want to make sure that we have enough space around for the fire department. No problems there?
Yes, we've looked at the site, and it doesn't significantly change the access around the building.
Fine. Thank you. That's the only I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Steinle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no problems with the addition of the additional drive-through. I do have a question for staff, however. In the zoning regulations, it calls for a certain number of waiting places for cars, and it doesn't mention whether you have a 2 ordering station or 1. I would presume that the amount of stacking requirement in our ordinances might need to be changed if you're having another ordering station, but I don't think it applies to this particular case.
I think we can take a look at possibly a tweak to that section of the code to be a little more clear about where you have a difference like this with 2 ordering stations with 1 drive-through. Just how to deal with something like that if it happens again.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's my only question. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf?
I have no comments or questions, thank you.
Commissioner Ruffado.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Can you just run through how this works as far as how you process the orders and keep them straight?
Well, it's got a whole camera system where it takes pictures. I mean, it's still a little new. There's some bugs and everything. And it's all electronic, so we, trying to make everything work. But basically, you end up with a red booth and a blue booth, two separate headset systems, taking orders, and they kind of go off one way or the other. You print receipts. It really isn't that hard if you get everything working. Well, it takes about 3 months to really get into the groove. I built one in Morton Grove on Dempster, and it takes a little bit for them to get used to it, but once they get used to it, you're actually hopefully, parking less cars because you're kind of trying to buy time between these two orders.
Oh, okay. Thanks, that's all I was curious about.
Commissioner Burns.
Thank you. You did one of these in Morton Grove?
Mm-hmm.
Forgive me, I don't know how this speeds the process because you still have one window for taking the money and one window for picking up the orders. So what you've got now is 2 lanes of traffic bottlenecking into that same 1 lane ultimately.
The pressure is on the cashier. It's buying time for the people in the back to get the food up to the front. So the pressure does go on to that second booth, the middle booth, I guess you'd call it, where they pay the money.
Yeah.
But when you get good at it, it's really not so bad because the food is ready, not all the time.
No, not all the time.
In average, what happens is I can move, on average,
Could you talk into the microphone?
I'm sorry, I can do about 110 cars right now. When you get the double drive-through running, you can do up to about 155. So the math works out. I don't know how to explain it to you exactly, but we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't believe that we could do it.
Okay. So do you have a McDonald's franchise in Morton Grove and the one in Wheeling, or?
The 2 in Wheeling and the 1 in Morton Grove and 1 in Niles.
Okay. And so far you've got this configuration in Morton Grove?
Yes. I rebuilt it in 2008.
You're going to move your trash enclosure. Currently, the trash enclosure exists where you're putting in this new lane of traffic for orders.
Partially, yes.
And it faces east, but the new trash enclosure is going to face north.
Yes.
How often per week do you get the trash picked up?
Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays around, I think they're early in the morning.
And somehow they're so early that there's no cars that
Well,
they
no, I
have
mean,
to-
it's just like getting a truck or anything. There's always a disturbance. But it's the same as it is right now. Basically, they have to, when they pull into the east, they're still cutting off that lane.
If it's stacked up that far.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're going to actually be closer to the cashier's window.
There was, I don't know any other way to do it.
Okay, thanks. Those are my questions.
Any other questions? Staff? They're all set? Do I hear a motion?
So moved, Mr.
Second.
Chairman.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
On PC 1211.
I'm sorry. That's correct. PC 1211.
Okay, the motion was made by Commissioner Steinle, seconded by Commissioner Dorband? Yes, I think.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Steinle?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruffado? Yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes, I thought you were waiting for a final.
I was. I was.
On SCBA 12-14, appearance approval, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Just for point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The docket item, the docket says 12-16 and the agenda says.
It is in fact 1216.
It's 16
Is it 16 or
It should be.
14?
It should be 16.
16? 12-16.
A motion was made by Commissioner Dorband, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Dorband?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruffado, I vote yes. Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Steinle?
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes. You'll have something to sign down the end there?
All righty, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
You're
We'll
welcome.
work, let me know if there's problems, always, okay?
Thanks.
We like your necklace.
Did I end up with the right number? Which one? Oh, really? I'm clicking too fast there.
Oh, I was having trouble getting back to where I wanted to go. I've got a minute.
Yeah, right. I ordered first, no, you ordered. Oh, that's the whole. If I put a green light, red light. Green light, red light, oh, I don't know.
It doesn't show that.
No. Can we do that electronically?
That would be nice.
Oh, no, you didn't.
What do you have? Got it? No. You need to sign that one.
Okay, calling docket number PC 12-12, multifamily residence, 305 North 9th Street, a minor site plan and appearance approval of a new garage. Mr. Jennings?
I believe the commission has received the fire department memo on this as well.
Yes.
There are no additional staff comments. The fire department is here if there are any questions on the memo. With that, I would just call the petitioner forward, please.
Petitioner, come forward, please. And into the microphone, will you give your name and address, please?
Steve Fiena, 305 9th Street.
And tell us what you'd like.
I want to put a 1.5 car garage on the north side of the building. It'd be framed with the vinyl outside. Basically, it would come in off the one, if you could see where the tree is on the one picture on the left there. So it'll be for one car and, yeah, right there. And just be for personal storage.
And the open is facing into the parking lot?
Yeah, right. It would face into the parking lot. So both doors, there'd be a single door and a one-car garage door on the east side.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Any comments from the fire department?
All of our comments should be covered in the review letter that has been presented to the commissioners. Basically, this is a utility-type structure, and the village's municipal code requires sprinkler protection in all new construction and does not exempt any particular use group. And there are some exceptions, but this particular property, based on the adjacent building that's the primary building on the property, does not meet any of the exemptions and would therefore also be required to be sprinklered.
So he's going to have to sprinkle the apartment building?
No,
and
just the garage itself. That is the new structure.
This one? Yeah. Okay, we'll start with Mr. Burns.
Thank you. You heard the fire inspector. Are you agreeable to putting fire sprinkler in the garage?
We're looking into the cost of it, see if it's even feasible to do it. Right now, we don't know. We thought because the distance between the structure and the building was enough, 13 feet away.
How many feet?
13 feet.
13?
And the builder said they would even put a firewall on, you know, the garage, on the south side of the garage, if that would help. But right now, we don't know which direction we're going to go with it. So we're just going this as long and see what happens as far as our ideas to kick out. So
if nothing changes, that'll be a condition of...
I understand that. I don't know what else to do with it.
Okay.
You know, it's a simple structure.
Right.
You know, I didn't anticipate this when I first contracted Daniel garages,
Okay.
so.
This is going to be used just for storage? You're not going to?
Well, it's a storage and, put one of my vehicles in there.
You will put a vehicle in there?
Right, probably.
Okay. So it's a 1.5 car garage?
1.5 car, right, because I'd
For
be
one
doing.
vehicle and some storage?
Right, there'd be some storage, lawnmower, snow blower, that type of stuff in there.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, Mr.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Commissioner Raffato.
I have nothing.
Commissioner Dorband.
Nothing?
Commissioner Stylen.
Of course, thank you,
Bingo.
Mr. Chairman.
Yay.
Do you live at that location?
No, I don't. I used to live there when I first bought it, but no, I don't.
So who would be eligible to park a car in that garage? Just
I would just
you, or?
personal use, my own use.
Okay, so it's a garage for off-site property storage, not
Right.
for use of
Right.
the residents.
I imagine, I could let a tenant use it, rent it, that's the possibility. I had a building on 7th Street which had a garage, was the same thing, and the original owner used to rent the garage to the tenant. The same, almost exact same size and everything. But it was on 304 7th Street with a garage.
Okay. Unless I'm mistaken, I think the directions and the elevations and stuff shown in the plan are all wrong, right? It shows that the garage door is facing north, and I don't think
No, it should be facing east.
east, correct.
East, right.
On the plans, it shows them,
No,
the
that's-
garage door facing
No, that's wrong.
north on both the Danley sheets, so I'd
No, they
suggest
made a
that-
mistake, it's obvious.
yeah, I'd suggest that those documents be corrected. I also noticed that there's, we're going to have, I'll just say, a relatively blank wall on the west side facing the street. I didn't see any landscaping proposed for,
No, not, at this moment, no, nothing was proposed. There's just a window on the west side, that's it.
I would like to see some kind of landscaping around, maybe some bushes or
Sure.
something just to break up the monotony a little
Sure.
bit. You've got some, evergreens around the front
I
of
could take care of that.
your building, so I'd like to see that. And then, I have a problem with requiring a sprinkler system for a car that's parked in a garage when a plane that's parked in a hangar gets to not have a sprinkler system. And when the hangar is immediately adjacent to an office that has people, I just think that's very strange reason for giving them an exception, but a car that's in a garage that may have a firewall on the building side, 13 away, it's a brick building, is it not?
It's a brick building, right?
I just think it is very foolish and very inconsistent to have a requirement for sprinklers for this particular unique situation. One other question. I noticed, Andrew, that the construction commentary said something about a 4-inch concrete floor. I don't know, something in the back of my mind, I tried to find it, but I thought garages and aprons for some reason had to be 5 inches, but I may be wrong. You might want to...
If that's the case, it would get picked up during the building permit review.
Okay. That's my only comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to clarify, the sprinkler ordinance has nothing to do with the Plan Commission. We can't override it or anything, but
personal comment.
I understand. I just want the people at home, the millions of people watching us on TV, to understand that. Okay,
Can I add
Commissioner-
something to that subject?
Sure.
Mr. Chairman? Commissioner Stilen, I think the National Fire Protective Association would agree with you that the airplane hangars should be sprinklered as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too have that problem with is the building, is the living quarter, the apartment building, is that sprinkled? Or
No.
was that put up before the sprinkling
The
system?
building is built, I think it was 79. The only sprinkler system is in the furnace room and the laundry room of that building.
Yeah. See, I have a hard time accepting that, even though it is a new structure, but it's just storage in a garage.
Right.
And the building is not sprinkled. I would expect that you would want the building sprinkled before you'd want a garage sprinkled, but that's a personal opinion. But
If he attached it to the building and it was big enough, he'd have to sprinkle the building. Am I correct?
That is correct. If it was directly attached, it would be an increase.
and the regulation is what, 25 feet?
Okay.
No, the regulation in this particular case, there is no separation
there is no-
distance allowed. The exception were the 25 feet that you may have read refers to single-family residential detached buildings, not multifamily commercial.
Not a multifamily commercial. Even though I have a personal problem with it, the code is still the code.
Appreciate that.
That's all.
Thanks.
Mr. Steinle, do you want to make a condition on the bushes?
I'll go with whatever the commissioners think.
Well, I think it should work with staff to get landscaping around that.
Is that good enough condition?
Right now, the two conditions are, number one, that the plan shall be adjusted to indicate that the door is on the east elevation, and number two, that the petitioner add evergreen shrubs to the west elevation.
With that said, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Rufato. Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Rufato, I vote yes. Commissioner Dorband?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Stilen?
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes. If you go up the end, we'll have some papers for you to sign.
Thanks.
Thank you. Just a question, if I built a garage in my backyard, I'd have to have sprinklers too, single-family home?
No, if you meet the separation distance that's specified in the code,
25
then you would
feet.
not be required to have sprinkler.
But less than that, I would.
And I believe also there's a square footage requirement.
Yeah, 225, I think it is.
Thank you.
I think that'd be a garage less than 225.
Not a two-car garage.
10 by 12.
No. Or maybe.
Calling docket number PC 12-13, Yogurtland, 1568 Lake Cook Road, minor site approval of outdoor dining area. Mr. Jennings.
No additional staff comments, please come forward.
Would you, into the microphone, give your name and address, please?
John O., 1568 Lake Cook Road, building.
Thank you. And make your presentation.
We're building a frozen yogurt franchise store, and we would like permission to place 3 outdoor tables with 3 chairs per table, so 9 tables total, so our patrons can enjoy the yogurt outside.
Thank you. Staff, have any comments? Okay, let's start with Commissioner Dorband.
I guess a couple of my questions are, number one, are these going to be permanent I mean, they're going to be locked down somehow, some way outside?
Oh, the chairs and...
Yes.
No, those are movable. They'll be moved into the storage. They'll be moved out of the premise, actually.
Okay, will they be brought in every night?
Yes, they will be.
They would be.
Yeah, otherwise, they'll be stolen, so we'll bring them in.
And I'm just a little, I'm not sure that there's enough space in front of the store to do that. That's my only concern at this point. I love the idea. I think it's a great idea. I'm just not sure there's enough space for people to walk around. Should those chairs be moved out? I have a little bit of a safety concern there that people would be walking out into the parking area to walk to get around the tables.
I've kind of made a small drawing. It's not to scale, but these tables are small, and the chairs are smaller than the ones that next door Chipotle has. And the walkway is same depth. Our storefront is about 20 feet. And I've been to other similar Yogurtland stores, franchises, and they have the exact same chairs and tables, and it seems that there is, enough space to move around.
Thank you. That's my only question.
Thank you. Commissioner Stylen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the outside depth of the sidewalk is about 10 feet.
10 feet, yes, sir.
Right. So, I mean, if he's going to be 3 or 4 feet, there'll still be 6 feet left over, so that would probably be sufficient. But I would like to see some kind of trash container or something outside so people can dispose of. I presume you're going to have plastic utensils and stuff like that.
Yes, we will have a big trash can outside, which will bring them in every night at the end of the day.
I don't know if that needs to be a requirement or not. The only other thing, Andrew and I have had a little bit of discussion this week about the seasonal seating, and I'll talk about that later under other business. But for the record, I would just like to have it noted that the seating requirements are parking requirements are 3 spaces for the indoor seating, 2 parking spaces for the 2 employees that you are going to have, and then 5 additional outside or 5 additional parking spaces are required for it being a carry-out type of restaurant. That brings the total parking requirement to 10. From what Andrew tells me, they have a variation on that store to operate up to 16. Is that correct, Andrew? So they're well within that limit. So, but I just like that noted. Thank you.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would have just liked to have seen where you're going to intend to put this garbage can. You say in your notes you will also place it, have an outdoor garbage can. I'd just like to know where it's going to go. I wish you would have just, drawn a circle and said, okay, this is where I'm going to put it. Take it in every night, that's fine. As long as it's out there. But still, I would have liked to have seen it.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I should have done that.
Yeah.
Where are you going to put it?
I'm sorry?
Where is it going to be?
I have not decided yet. I haven't thought about it, but we do have a trash can, and we're planning on putting it. I have not given enough thoughts. We can't put it in front of the door. It'll be probably by the wall, by the brick wall.
Well, we'll just require you to have one.
But we will put one. We'll find a good place to put it.
Commissioner Schaaf, anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
Commissioner Raffato.
No, it's great. You probably wish you had it this week, right?
Yes. Right now, yesterday.
Commissioner Johnson.
Great idea.
Thank you. There's a couple different documents here. How many chairs are you talking about putting out there?
3 chairs per table, so 9 chairs total.
One of the forms said 2 chairs per table, so I just wanted to... make sure we got
It's
that
my
right.
mistake again, sorry.
The handwritten applicant information form had 2. And Andrew, the address on the docket
Yeah,
is shown as
the
250
front page.
McHenry. Other than that, that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Burns?
Thank you. Does Chipotle have a sidewalk cafe as well? Do they have outdoor?
They have outdoor seating, yes.
Okay. It looks good to me.
Okay,
Thank you.
You have conditions?
Yes. Number 1, that a trash can shall be added to the outdoor dining area. That's it.
That's it. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Burns, seconded by Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaff?
Yes.
Commissioner Fotto, I vote yes, and Chairman Maloney?
Yes.
That's it.
And you also will have some paperwork. We'll sign and you'll be all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Wheeling.
Please stop by after next weekend.
It'll be cold then. What date do you want to continue this? 4/12. We'll have to open this and then go out and continue.
Just a motion to continue.
Okay. Docket number 2012-3, docket number P, well, just two, which one we're going to,
Only the public hearing docket needs to be continued at this time. The rest are tabled and can remain on the table.
2012-3. This is a continuation from 3/8/2012, Phil Haven, 2418 to 2422 Hintz Road. We're going to ask a motion to continue this till April 12th.
So moved?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Motion was made by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Rufato. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rufato, I vote yes. Commissioner Schaff?
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
And Chairman Maloney?
Yes.
For those who may be watching at home, the item is being continued to a date certain of April 12th, which means the public hearing will be reopened at that point. The item has a related text amendment that's being considered right now and would be published for that date. So it's expected that that should be published for April 12th at this point.
Thank you. Let's see, we do not have minutes to approve. We'll go to other business. Discussion of Plan Commission policies. Mr. Jennings.
I have a couple of items actually before that. As noted, the approval of minutes, those minutes were not available. We also noticed that the February 16th minutes, which were up for approval and a motion was made, had not been distributed at the time of the motion. So both of those will be placed on the agenda for the April 12th meeting. Under other business, staff has a couple of items. There's a memo. Before we get to the policy discussion, there's a memo of a couple of items that we wanted to briefly go through. Staff met with the Yanni Design Studio located on Quail Hollow to discuss a sign. The sign that you see in this photograph was installed on the building briefly and removed not long after this photograph was taken. The company is requesting a concept review of this sign. They intend to apply for it for the April 12th meeting and would like to know before they do that if there are any concerns or questions. The sign is constructed of a double channel of metal molded to hold LED lights. So it's a little bit difficult to see from this, but there's 2 rows of metal with lighting in between the 2 rows. They're requesting just a brief concept review so that they have any guidance leading up to their formal application.
What color is this thing that's lit up?
It is white when it is lit up. It is that color, sort of the pewter currently. They did mention that the sign, as is, can be painted to provide greater contrast with the brick.
Yeah, you can't read it. You wouldn't, in the daytime, you wouldn't find it driving by. The light's going to be lit all the time.
They said that is also an option. It's an LED sign, so they can light it all the time. So those were the two questions that staff had for them.
I'm having a hard time seeing it on this, on the screen, let alone.
Andrew, do we have, I seem to remember in the ordinances something about the sign going over the roof or whatever you call the top of the building.
And below the window too.
The sign, yeah, there is a section that says projection signs are not permitted. We've had a couple of interpretations of that. If you recall the claim jumper sign, there were multiple roof heights on that building, and it was above one roof and not the other. So we've had a couple of cases like this. Not exactly like this, but we've had a couple like that where there's been some interpretation.
I think Crawdaddy's
had a roof mounted specifically for signage. But so there's been some interpretation. This one extends, as shown here, slightly above.
It would seem to me that even if you lit it during the day, you wouldn't be able to see the top of the sign, and it's kind of unfortunate. I guess the sign is already made, right?
This sign is a sign that has been constructed.
I'm sorry, the sign's what?
It is existing. It's at their property currently. It is not up on the building currently.
And size-wise, it meets the size criteria for?
I have not measured it. Eyeballing it, it looks like it will. It's not, if you take the segments of that, the window below it, you're talking about an area that ends up being probably 20 feet.
Is that the area immediately beneath, is that a metal cover awning or whatever?
It's metal.
You know, it might actually look better on that dark metal, especially if it were lit up. I think that might be more attractive. And for a design studio, you would think that they would have inferred that already. I think it would look a little funny there, but...
Did they come up with any other ideas other than what they've got here?
As this sign exists, they wanted to discuss this option first. They wanted to see if there were any concerns with this going into the formal application.
But can you even see it during the day?
I've never seen it up. This photograph is the best I have of it.
I would paint the whole thing white and then move it down to that awning area. Would seem to be a lot more visible.
What kind of design do they do?
They do wedding. They do the full range of wedding, so the table settings. Miss Jones, any help with what they do? the flowers.
Miss Jones.
I think they do the full range of all.
We just got to run a tuxedo and be there. I don't know.
Like the wedding arranger?
Wedding planner?
Wedding planner, yeah.
I don't know how much they do wedding-wise. but it's wedding-related design.
I would rather see this in a contrasting color.
Okay.
Andrew, is there actually a channel that these LEDs are in? Because if you look at where it goes above the roof, it just looks like it's a band of metal, and they put the LEDs inside all along there. I mean, is there a three-sided thing?
It's two-sided, but it has a channel that the LEDs sit in. So if you paint it white, the two channels are pretty close together. You may read it as one letter. They probably would be open to putting a back on it.
So it's open like rod, like two pieces of wrought iron.
Yeah.
Right.
One way with lights
Two
in the
pieces
middle.
of metal with lights in the middle.
And I agree with Commissioner Stylen, if it can fit on that metal part rather than the brick. I mean, that is metal, right? It's not.
Yes, it's metal.
Not smoked glass or anything.
That was the impression I had of it when I was there.
I don't know if it would fit there, but might show up better.
Any other direction for them as they apply?
I like your idea of like a white backer behind the LEDs, and then it might show up better in the daytime and at night. The LEDs would maybe reflect off that white at night. My other question, the yard sign there, the Y is a very different type of writing than the Y on the LED light. You would think that they would want the same Y if that's kind of their logo. They've already got a sign made up. I guess that's kind of expensive, but
And the eye is kind of different too. The eye on the building looks like a 1.
it does, yeah.
Well, is that just a temporary sign, the white sign out front?
The white sign, I think, was originally their grand opening sign.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's too close to the sidewalk to start with, isn't it?
I believe they used a real estate sign and just covered it to create their grand opening sign.
Goodness.
So that's just temporary.
That is a
Well, we
temporary
haven't
sign.
approved it
Okay.
anyway, so.
Right, that is a temporary sign.
Any
Excuse
other
me.
comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
did I understand that the code says you're not allowed to go above the building or below the building?
I can get you the exact language. The code says that it's projecting above. Let me see if I can find it, and I'll read you exactly what it says.
I mean, I just, if it's, you're not allowed to project above the building or below the building,
The roof of the building.
just the roof. I mean, he can go down below.
Down below what? Not.
Well, it's both above
Below
the
the wall
building
into the
and
window area?
above the
Yeah.
brick and below the brick.
Okay. Signs or, I'm sorry, the section is under prohibited signs, 2106, 800. D, roof signs and flags. Signs or flags erected upon, against, or directly above a roof or on top of a building are prohibited.
But that's a full sign, but we're talking about a
Just
tail.
a small portion. you know.
Exactly. I mean, that's not a full sign above or below the,
We have not had very many
no.
interpretations of this. The one I do remember was claim jumpers, which was the entire sign above the roof, but there was more of the building behind it. You could even take the Serenello sign as an example, sort of similar to claim jumpers. It's above the roof of that part of the building, but below the roof of the rest of the building.
But he's within the code if he's just that far above the.
It's an interpretation.
It's an
The code is
interpretation.
not black and white about that. I mean, Tremonto's Steak and Seafood has that may be the best example. Tremonto's has that piece that comes up.
Yeah, I agree. With the rest of the commissioners that say, you can't see this thing during the day unless they change the background. So I would be in favor of changing the background. I don't see that little portion that goes above the roof is going to make much difference.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think that's, are there any other, is there any other guidance for them?
I think the logo they got on their temporary sign looks better than the one
So do I.
up on top.
I would think that they would want to match, but, you know.
Well, that one's going to go away.
Well, temporary is going away.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Okay. The next one should be relatively fast. You may remember 2009, we had a special use review for La Turkey Learning Center, which is located in a unit right about here in this building. The owner of the business is requesting a couple of modifications. The most noticeable physical modification is a site plan change to add a playground area in the grass that it's part of this lot. The other changes include extending the hours of operation. It's currently a part-time facility, so no child currently is there for more than 3 hours a day. They have requested consideration of increasing the hours so that children could be there full day, and the hours of the business itself would increase from 7 a.m. to, I believe, 7 p.m., more or less. The staff has reviewed the section of the code related to modifications to a special use. In our review of it, it does seem that the modifications requested would trigger the need for a hearing and and notification of a full public hearing. However, that is the responsibility of the Plan Commission to make that call. So we just thought we would run it by you, make sure that you had an opportunity to ask any questions before we go ahead with that.
Would there be any increase in the number of children?
The number of children right now, at any given time, is set by the occupancy limit of the building, which is related to the square footage, and I believe they're exiting. Is that, do you recall if that was how it was set?
Yeah, but they have two exits, so the square footage and the exiting match.
So which building is it, Andrew?
This is a office building, office,
Right.
little bit, I don't remember how many units, but it's called the Elms.
So, yeah, okay, so which part of that building is?
It's roughly,
I don't remember this.
I believe they're roughly here. Do you recall where they are? I think they're in the middle.
And so then where would the play area go?
The play area is proposed over here in the grass.
And is that owned by the shopping center?
It is.
So they would have to cross the street?
Parking lot.
It's their own park.
That's a detention area?
It is a little bit hard to figure out exactly what it is.
Used to be a road.
There are a couple of, used to be a road?
Yeah, they used to go through to Wolf Road.
Well, that used to be a road that went
It would connect
through
to
Wolf Road.
Yokes, well, what do they call it now? Inland Drive. It would connect to Inland Drive here on the far left and go right through to Milwaukee. And it was Tiffany Court at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Is that 700, 710, and 720, South Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they're going to have a playground that's remote from their.
It's remote, but if you look at the distance that the children, right now, the children take walks. The children who are there during the day, they take walks. They leave the property to do that. This would be on the property compared to what they currently do.
Is this considered?
What range of, what age range is the center? I mean, are they older, 3 to 6?
Is it classified as a daycare center?
That's actually a really good question. We were looking at the original approval, trying to figure out why it was originally classified as a specialty school for early childhood education. It may have been a distinction for the applicant and not a distinction for the village, based on the DCFS licensing that they were getting. I have not been able to figure out exactly why we classified it that way. For the purposes of our code, it certainly seems to fit the definition of daycare center. And just as sort of a housekeeping, I think if we do this, we'll probably have the new ordinance match that.
I mean, I would think that if the old criteria was children could only be there 3 hours a day, and now you're saying they can be there 6 or 7 or whatever, that would be less traffic, so it'd actually be better to classify it as a daycare center, I think.
I think the classification the first time around was related to the type of license she was applying for from DCFS. That license doesn't require outdoor play area. It limits children to a certain number of hours per day. So her application to us, I think, was tailored to their licensing. I don't know that for our purposes it made a huge difference, but like I said, I couldn't figure out exactly why we classified it the way we did.
I mean, I think it'd be better to classify it as a daycare. If they want to go full boat, and then we should
I would think so too.
A hearing to let everybody know that we're changing.
Yeah, and I'd like to have more information about this, the outdoor play area. Are they going to fence it in, things like that?
The outdoor play area was actually what
before us anyway?
Started this discussion. They were going to come in front of the commission for a site plan review to add the outdoor play area. Staff discussed the proposal and learned of the other items that they would like to amend as well. So I think at this point what we're looking for is the consensus one way or another. Is this a special use review that should be renoticed, or is it, we've had a few recently where we've amended the ordinances and tweaked them, but our view of this was that enough of the conditions of approval were changing and the description of the proposal was changing.
Yeah, I mean.
I say special use.
Yep.
Pam?
And are they going to be required to have a fenced-in area?
Yes. DCFS has requirements.
And then are we going to have that requirement that it be a board on board or something where the kids can't stick their hands through to pet a dog, or,
I think typically the recommendation is to have those be open. For commercial daycare centers, so that people can see through it.
I'm taking a poll. Pam, special use?
Sorry? I'm sorry, I was reading this, trying to understand what they were saying. It says parents typically sign up their children for 1, 2, or 3 classes a week, but never more than 1 class per day. So conceivably, there could be a whole lot more traffic, is what it sounds like.
That is that's the 2009 version.
But so now they're saying they're changing the whole configuration of this? This is...
Well, we did not give you, all we got from them was a verbal description of how they plan to change it, to go to offer full day, to offer more hours per day.
I'm sorry, what's
Question is it special use? Requiring a hearing.
I think it is.
Commissioner Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Rufato?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Burns?
Yes.
Okay, we will contact the petitioner, and I would expect to see this probably end of April, early May. One last item, have in your packet a letter from a company that is requesting business license approval on Marquardt. The business is requesting a type of business that has not previously been reviewed. It's not defined in the zoning code, is enclosed automobile sales. And what the zoning code says in a case like this is staff, specifically the community development director, can do what's called a similar use interpretation. They can take the most similar use in the code. There's a list of criteria and can compare the the proposed use to the most similar use and come up with a determination as to whether or not this is similar enough to be classified as being permitted because the most similar use is also permitted. The similar use interpretation section also allows the community development director to forward something onto the plan commission for a discussion. So that's what's happening in this case. We've got a business that is not defined. Their request is that it be considered as most similar to wholesale and distribution facility indoor. It is a automobile sales office with storage of approximately 20 vehicles. I believe they listed that in here.
Yes, 20.
Approximately 20 vehicles. It is by appointment only. We've had similar businesses to this, but on a much smaller scale. There's one, in fact, next door to this that operates with 3 to 5 vehicles, all indoors, and by appointment only, sort of an antique collector who will find vehicles for people, so it's more specialized. This, though, is a larger scale, and their contention is that the definition of automobile sales, light motor vehicle sales, clearly refers to a typical open lot dealership. The 5-acre minimum, the assumption that most of the vehicles will be outside is clear in the zoning code. So what they're requesting is that this be considered more similar to warehouse, wholesale, distribution type of use.
Is this on the north side or the south side of the street?
I believe that would be the north side, 220.
Yeah, unfortunately, okay.
Are they taking the whole building?
Building?
They're
Exactly.
taking a unit in the building, I believe.
So they're, I mean, it's just a, it's got one dock. Are they going to how are they going to get cars in there?
They have an overhead door.
Yeah, I see the whole overhead door, but it looks like it goes down.
I believe he has informed us that, and I don't have I had a lot of emails back and forth with him, and I didn't print all of them out, but he's responded that there's a level dock.
Okay.
Level
Might be on the back side or something.
No, well, the dock that shows here is in the front.
A lot of these places have floor level entries in the back.
Okay. All right.
I had to look around for someone.
What would the parking requirements be for?
That's a good question. If it's considered to be most similar in that to warehouse and distribution, we would break it down probably like that. The storage area we would probably consider to be storage, and the office and showroom area we'd probably consider to be office. With at the 4 per thousand for that area, and then 1 per thousand for the back.
And are they going to do vehicle repair?
No, they have absolutely no repair. It's a
No
an
maintenance?
office, no maintenance. They've got an office, a showroom. I think in something he said do you recall if he said something about having the ability to wash?
But no outside storage of vehicles of any kind?
He has maintained that there will be absolutely no outdoor storage of any kind.
Yes, it says products are displayed indoor and sold by appointment.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep.
I'm a bit concerned about setting you said there was something next door that does the same thing?
We have, if I had to guess, we have made an interpretation in the past on 4, maybe 5. One of them happens to be directly adjacent to this. We've had the ones that we've made the interpretation on in the past. They've been we've had a limousine sales. It was all custom. They would have one at a time. We've had a business that I believe did Hearst sales.
I can't hear you.
We had a business that did Hearst sales, it was a custom order, not the typical automobile dealership. So the ones that we've had, they've been small scale. They've been 2 to 3 cars. They've been businesses that will locate a vehicle for you somewhere else, ship it, and by appointment, that sort of thing. So all of the one next door is a hobby of the owner of a business that does something unrelated. The other ones, the limousine, the hearse, that was the primary function of the business, but the volume that they were doing was extremely low, and you would never know that they had one car inside at that location. So, like I said, there's nothing. The reason this is here is we have not had something exactly similar to this to make an interpretation on in the past.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I think we would need the petitioner here to make a decision like this. We need to ask him some questions. Are we just turning an industrial building into an indoor used car lot? I don't know if we're going to get enough information tonight to really give a definitive answer to Andrew.
One possibility for the petitioner, if they need to come in and talk about it, would be to just make an application to define the use. Do a text amendment, define the use. At their application for that could make it a permitted use, but just define it. That would require some amount of public hearing process, but not. If they went that route, it would not be a special use review, just a text amendment review to define the use. So there are a couple of different options with this. One is the similar use and finding it to be most similar to another business, but the other option could be a text amendment.
Andrew, do you know if they're doing business like this anywhere else in the area?
This particular, I do not know that.
Is Chicago Car Loft an existing company, do you know?
Their business address is just an office park. I'm familiar with it.
Right.
I don't know if anybody who has internet access wants to look at Chicago Car Loft and see if it exists.
Oops.
ChicagoCarLoft.com. Yes, it does.
They are existing?
Yep.
Did it say where?
Getting there.
Andrew, could you bring them up on our monitors here, do you know? Or?
I don't know. I can try.
Chicago Car Loft, 220 East Euclid, Mount Prospect, Illinois.
Oh.
220 East Euclid, Mount Prospect, Illinois.
I don't have that keyboard attached to this. That's the extent of what I can do.
The name sounds familiar to me, so maybe I've seen a sign.
Well, it gives us something to go and look at.
Is there, at this point, is there any consensus at all, or is it we would prefer the petitioner to come in or make an application?
Commissioner Burns?
I prefer that they come in and ask to do used car sales in an industrial area.
So define the use as, define enclosed auto sales?
It's auto sales. I'm not going to say this is, the sale of factory direct merchandise and bulk goods. I mean, we have a specific code for auto sales. And from what I'm reading here, that's not allowed in the industrial area. Now, they can come before us and ask for a variance from that, correct?
Not exactly, no. They would need to, if the determination is that they are an automobile, light motor vehicle sales, as the code intends it to be, if that is the determination, that is prohibited, and they would need to address that in some fashion. They would need to change the code to either define what they do, if they believe that enclosed automobile sales should be a use, they could put together an application for that and set up the public hearing for defining that use.
To put new language into the code book.
It says enclosed auto sales shall mean this. It'll be up to 30 vehicles, totally enclosed.
Well, that would be honest, and I would prefer that.
They're currently located at Euclid, if it's the same company, Euclid and River Road. I would agree with Commissioner Burns. This sounds like a car dealership, and it's not a wholesale. No,
They got a nice price on them.
If it's Euclid and River, there's a whole bunch of cars out there.
Right, there is.
There's a whole bunch.
Yep.
Because I pass that every now and then.
Yeah, but that, there could be, there could be multiple companies out there. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, this may be their.
Yeah, good price on a Mercedes.
Pardon? Is it? Oh, okay.
3369.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
All this technology we got in here.
Yeah.
You need a keyboard though, Andrew.
Yeah.
We have one. I got a lot of stuff going on.
Okay, next.
We got through Commissioner Ruffato. Anybody else?
Yeah, I agree that.
I'm with them.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a wholesale and distribution.
Right, it's
facility.
car sales.
It's car.
And to Commissioner Burns' point, he has not made an attempt to be to circumvent the code. He approached us. We do get the occasional business that moves in and asks questions later. This is somebody who has followed the correct path of asking first.
Okay, I didn't mean to, say anything otherwise, but it seems like he's asking us the right thing to do, to turn our head and say, I don't see any cars. That's a warehouse with bulk merchandise in it. Well, when there's language in the code that deals with cars, and if the language that's in there is not sufficient, and this is a business that the Village of Wheeling wants to approve, then maybe we should add the language to do that.
Okay. I will let him know. The last item we had was what was originally scheduled. Before I do that, I had a couple of quick announcements. I sent out an email invitation to attend the board meeting on April 2nd. It's Volunteer Week. There'll be a proclamation of Volunteer Week, and the board has requested if anyone is available, they've invited the planning commissioners to come for that event. March 26th is the scheduled sidewalk subcommittee presentation to the village board. The only other announcement I had before getting into the policy update, many of you would recall Signs of Distinction, a Wheeling business that has done a lot of signs recently. You don't see them in front of you as often as you used to now that we have the consent agenda, but we received word from Signs of Distinction that Bill McDonald has passed away. And he's been, I would say, Wheeling business for 30 years, 20-something years.
Time.
Yeah, wow.
So I just thought you'd like to know.
Thank you.
Someone taking over the business?
I don't know. I was just informed of it, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, I saw a truck over there the other day myself, so I just wondered.
We haven't heard any details about their business yet, but
That's too
he's
bad.
been putting up a lot of signs in Wheeling for a long time.
That's a shame.
The item that was actually on the agenda for other business.
Andrew, just a real quick question about that, the volunteer, April 2nd, do they want us to tell somebody if we're going to be at the meeting or not?
That I don't know. I think if you guys could let me know, I will pass on the word. I don't think it would hurt to just give a heads up of a head count.
Mr. Burns?
At this time, I believe I will be there, yes.
Mr. Johnson?
I believe so. I've got 3 invites now.
Mr. Rufaro?
Yes.
I'll be there. Commissioner Dorband?
Yes?
Commissioner Stylen?
I'll be there.
And Commissioner Shaft?
Yes.
Full house. Okay, on to the item that was on the agenda, the amendments. I have a memo in front of you, subject Village Code amendments. We last had a workshop discussion on this in November. At that time, the idea was that we would keep working on it and set up a formal series of policies to adopt, and related to that discussion, we had some Title 19 and Title 21 amendments that we were looking at. Right now, a workshop on the specifics of the recommendations is planned for April 19th. We did have a request, though, we've had a couple of requests to add to the list of the running list of what we're trying to put together for that. So that's the purpose of tonight, is to make sure that we're adding the items and understanding them before we draft anything formal. We just want to make sure we have an understanding of what the requests are. Most of these we have talked about before, so I'll just try to run through it quickly before I open up the questions. All the items under policies to review and adopt, the procedural rules we've discussed before, the submittal deadline item we've discussed, consent agenda we've discussed, and public comment we've discussed. The possible...
Andrew, could you review that number 4, the
number
public
4
comment?
is,
what was the intent of that?
the intent of that is actually somewhat covered by number 1, the procedural rules for hearing. The idea on that was to have a policy statement that was clear about how the public comment will be taken. Would we require sign up? Would we not?
But it says for non-agenda items.
Yes, that's the unrelated part. This is do we want to have, as the board has, a comment section just available either before the items for review or at the end of a meeting,
Like the village board has?
Yes.
Okay.
The other items that were related to a hearing, during the hearing, how is the comment going to be handled? There's the suggestion that's been made previously about limiting repetitive comments. That's a statement that's been made at several hearings in the past, that, you know, if we have 5, 10 people that have the same point, that the chair of the commission would have the authority to move things along. Any other questions on the top 4 items?
Well, the other thing, we have to adopt the Clarence rules.
Yes, that is the intention of what number 1 is covering there. We have done that twice for contested hearings. I think, just generally speaking, it would be good to have that included in a formal policy adopted by the commission and referred up to the board. Under Title 19, the list, I think, is the ongoing staff list. I don't know that the commission has seen the work on this, so I'll just run through these very briefly. I think we've discussed a few of these at our previous, but staff keeps a list of the issues that we run into as we deal with new types of businesses. Sometimes we have an application like tonight, where it's something you haven't thought of in the past, and there may be a need, or maybe not, to adjust the code accordingly. So this is our ongoing list that we've been compiling since the last time we had a zoning code amendment. So there's a discussion of administrative variations. Might there be certain types of variations? There's been a discussion of some of the residential garages, front yard setback, some of the things that if there's a certain range that might be considered for administrative variation and not require a process, a full public hearing process. The second one, catering use in industrial districts, is one that's come up a few times. It's more of just matching the code to what types of businesses you expect to see. Title 19, this one is going to be one that's going to be a little bit difficult to figure out. The relationship between Title 19 and Title 17 and Title 12 for sidewalks and landscaping. This may require tweaks to Title 17 and Title 12 that we will either repeat or directly reference out of the zoning code, specifically criteria for sidewalks, some of the landscaping interpretations that have been made over the last few years. Just go ahead and spell out exactly what's expected in terms of landscape maintenance. Number 4 is one that I'm particularly excited about. We have the state has changed the requirement for including a legal description in our public hearing notices. We can refer to properties by their common address and PIN number. So we're pretty excited about that. Not have to deal with legal descriptions anymore. Wow. Packaged liquor sales is not adequately defined in the zoning code. That is number 5. Number 6, we noticed during one of the most recent reviews of a hangar building that the AP district doesn't have setback requirements. Some of the other specialty districts, the MX districts, will have a section that references the B3 because that's our sort of baseline zoning district for commercial property. The AP district can probably use that. We've had a handful of questions about specialty school parking requirements, whether this one might actually be a two-part change. One related to what is a specialty school and what isn't, and then the other related to how we calculate parking for those, whether it should be a square footage or occupant-based. Number 8, sign variation standards. The standards in the code and the standards in the application are not consistent. So this is just a matter of consistency. Number 9, group home capacity. Currently, our definition of family includes a definition of group home. Looking around at some of the other municipalities, there is a distinction between a small group home and a large group home. One in Des Plaines was recently in the newspaper. I think that we don't have anything firm yet, but by the time of the April 19th, I think we'll take a look at our code and see if there's an opportunity to modify it to create a distinction between a small group home and a large group home.
Do group homes need to be approved today?
They need to be approved. They don't have any sort of public review process. They have a permit review process. They've got the state fire marshal and village fire inspector review. So there's review. There's just not a plan commission or village board review. Due to the fact that it's part of the definition of family. It's a housekeeping unit that's acknowledged by the zoning code. Doesn't change the fact that there's still this other life safety review of the sleeping accommodation, et cetera. Number 10, donation boxes. The Village of Wheeling has dealt with donation boxes as using the definition of accessory structure and some of the regulations for accessory structures. Accessory being related to the principal use and using those two sections together to prohibit donation boxes. Schaumburg has recently defined the donation boxes and spelled it out a little more clearly. I think that we can take a look at what they've done and see if it could be applied here. Automobile sales, the one that we just talked about, which has actually been on our list off and on, my mental list at least, since we had the one next door. Number 12 is the potential loophole for outdoor seating at restaurants. The idea when these regulations were created was that there was a need to encourage outdoor seating at restaurants, create sort of a vibrant feel at the shopping centers. The other side of that is that as it's currently written, there might be an opportunity to abuse that and provide seating without any sort of parking and not having any seating indoors. Am I translating that? So that's a loophole that we will take a look at the most appropriate way to close. Number 13, we've had a request I feel like over the last year or so, there's been a request to take a look at how the PUD approval process works, take a look at how the concept review fits into it. There is a plan right now to have the village board discuss something very similar to this next month. Although we won't have it available for April 19th, I think we'll keep it as a placeholder to get the village board direction on how they'd like to see concept reviews handled. For the time being, though, I think that we can also discuss the whether any minor items that don't require board approval ultimately also might need some sort of conceptual review. Then number 14, parking requirements for shopping centers. Just taking a look at how the reduction language currently reads. Should there be some other sort of cap on that reduction language? Should the trigger for a variation be altered in some way? Find the threshold there of where the reduction should stop and a variation actually be required. So that one is in the works as well. Then the last couple here are I'll just move through real fast. There's a couple of zoning map amendments that we'd like to publish to clean up the lots around Heritage Park. They've acquired property over the years that isn't included in the open space overlay, so we'd like to correct that. Let's see. The other one was not approved. Title 21 signs. There's been discussion of making sure that the language related to the graphic bonus reflects the intent of the commission, whether the proportional rule needs to be amended in some way. And then we've had the one that was discussed in November, the use of can signs and cabinet signs, if the interpretation of what constitutes a can sign or cabinet sign needs to be updated in the code, just to be clear to petitioners so that they can know right up front what is expected of them. And I believe that was it for our list. So if there's anything either tonight or over the next couple of weeks that you can think of that you'd like to see added to the next round of code updates, please let us know.
Mr. Stylen, does this answer some of your questions you had from 2 meetings ago? You wanted to talk?
No, well, does it answer some of the questions? Sure. I have a couple that I would like to add to this, if you don't mind, because one of them concerns the item that was on the agenda this evening, specifically the garage entity, and it concerns what the interpretation of major versus minor site plan change is. Now, I printed out the ordinance, which seems to give some suggestions for major, minor definitions. But Andrew, could you basically explain from a petitioner's perspective what is the difference between major and minor? Does he have to do something in greater detail for a major versus a minor, or what is the impact of something being a major versus minor?
For major, it's just the amount of time involved. A minor site plan change, the Plan Commission has the final approval authority. On a major, the Village Board has the final approval authority, and the Plan Commission becomes a recommending body.
But other than that, the aspects are basically maybe a little more time for the
It's
petitioner.
similar. I think that there's some relationship between a major and what they have to do in the background. You know, the more substantial the change, the more likely they are to have to involve a more thorough engineering proposal as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like tonight, you know, there didn't appear to be any landscaping involved in the creation of a new building on a lot. And I just wonder, you know, the garage was considered a minor site plan change, but when I read what the guidelines of minor are, I really don't see how a new building, you know, an additional structure on a lot could be considered minor. So I'd like to have a little bit more definitive guidelines as to what kinds of example things would fit into major and minor.
A few years ago, the answer to that is a few years ago, the question was brought, I believe, to the commission and maybe also the board about accessory structures. And so we had an interpretation done on accessory structures. But to your point, that interpretation has not been updated into the code. And I think that's a good suggestion of taking an interpretation from the past that's going to be applied, and somebody who's applying today wouldn't know that looking at this.
You know, I've just seen, you know, who was it that just came in for a massive increase in their parking lot that went basically right up to the lot line and that was considered minor, and you know, I just question some of the minor stuff. So, but I'd like to discuss that in the future. The other thing was we were supposed to come up with a criteria for when we thought dockets should go more than one meeting, and I think, Mr. Chairman, you asked us all to put together a list couple of weeks ago of the kinds of things that we thought would be a good criteria for at least being able to suggest that a meeting be continued. And I put together a whole bunch of things, and a couple things I'd like to pass around. I know you've seen this, but the village has a bunch of, I'll just call it these applications that they give petitioners for documentation that they have to do and sign off sheets. You might want to pass these down. There's one for variations and one for signs and one for, you can read what the titles are. Basically, if you look, they're all different. So basically, in there it says that a special use, a variation, whatever, will take a minimum of, or an average of 90 days to get through the process. And if you look on any one of those applications, there's a checklist of a bunch of things that a petitioner is required to do or provide or process. And Andrew, I think you use that document as a checklist to ensure that your documentation package is complete. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things in there. And, you know, I think as long as, you know, it takes 90 days for some of these application processes to go through the process, again, that staff would be able to give us a good recommendation on whether something could, you know, be easily done in one night's review, or if something maybe should be extended into more than one meeting review. And I just offer those. I don't know if any of you have seen all those kinds of things. I would suggest that, you know, a lot of that information that goes into those little check boxes are things that are supposed to be included in our material. And if some of those check boxes are missing, then maybe that's a reason for continuing the docket to another meeting, so we can ensure that some of the missing checked items are in and available in our packet. You know, I'd also like to suggest that maybe generally, you know, a PUD probably ought to be more than one meeting. I mean, they're normally very large endeavors that probably should be scrutinized with a little more due diligence. Subdivisions maybe that are of more than 3 parcels, maybe that should be done a little bit better. Some of the other things, there are dockets that have special use, zoning, site plan, and sign numbers, right? All in one agenda item. Maybe, you know, we ought to say if there's more than 3 items, that maybe that is a reason for considering having a week in between meetings. So those were some of my criteria.
I thought that what you were going for was you wanted to know where a cutoff would be in the size of a project for them to come in first for, I'll call it a review, before we, in discussion, before we even, you know, formally take the subject up, like, well, like we do with a PUD.
I thought that was one of the options as well, whether it's one meeting on the docket item or a workshop item on a docket item, that's fine. I just think we need more time to consider some of these items. You know, how it's implemented, I don't care. So anyway, I submitted my criteria. I'd be interested to hear. I believe all the other commissioners said that they thought, and a lot of times one meeting was sometimes rushed into reading the documentation and getting it done, and you guys were going to submit your criteria last week, and it was kind of postponed this week. I'd be interested in hearing your criteria as well.
Commissioner Raffato?
I would not want to put a criteria on there as to what we think should be 2 days or 1 day. I would like to have more criteria around what should come in for a workshop. Obviously, the March 8th Philhaven probably should have been a workshop before it went to a public hearing. But to say that a black and white thing should be 1 or 2 meetings, I don't necessarily think I I wouldn't be in favor of that, but I think what we all as plan commissioners have to keep in mind is that we have that option, that we are not under pressure to approve everything in one meeting. And I think we lose sight of that sometimes. I believe that we feel that we have to get it done that night, and I don't think we have to take that. And to put criteria around that to say, this is at this point, it's going to be 2 meetings. I don't know, and then also I think we have to manage expectation of the petitioner on something like that, to say, please be aware that there's a possibility that this could go to 2 meetings. But to put criteria around that, I wouldn't want to do that. I would want to put criteria around what we should do to have, what is the criteria around workshops. And I think any PUD should be workshopped. That makes it pretty easy. That's my comment.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
The criteria thing bothers me too, because the more rules you set, the more exceptions you had to those rules. They're just going to get broken more often. Major projects like Phil Haven, things like that, yeah, workshop would have been the best place to start.
Commissioner Burns?
Anytime a commissioner feels that they need more information, they're undecided, there's a lot more work to be done on a project, a motion to table would be in order. We continued Phil Haven. In the meantime, the Phil Haven project has actually now been, or the next date to review it has been extended to April 12th, and I think those things are appropriate. And yeah, I don't think we could come up with black and white rules that say that this project will definitely be 1 meeting. We would never do that. Who knows what's going to come up during the presentation? We haven't seen all the presentation, the information, and what the petitioner has to say, heard what the petitioner has to say. And nor can we say beforehand that, except in limited circumstances, this is going to require 2 meetings, 3 meetings. Yeah, I wouldn't want to limit it either way. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dormand?
Well, there are so many meetings where we probably should have tabled them for more information, but we have been encouraged to move things along as quickly as possible, and I agree with that too, but there are circumstances where we shouldn't rush them through, and I think we lose sight of the fact that we should table them if we're not comfortable going forward. And I think we just need to be more cognizant of that. I think there probably are certain dockets that would be obvious that would not be 1 meeting. I don't know how we set that kind of a standard, though. I'm hard pressed to say there's one specific way to do it, but I think that there definitely are times when we should table it for more information.
And that's on a case-by-case basis. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Rafato. I think to set the guidelines and criteria for workshops would be appropriate. And exercise that right to continue or table for completeness, especially for certain projects. Certainly, Phil Haven was a clear example. Getting the document, 2 or 3 days before a meeting is I mean, you know, they even said it in the beginning, you know, they knew it was going to be continued.
Well, that's because they made changes in it.
Correct,
That the
right.
village was going to request at the meeting.
Yes.
So they're giving us a heads up.
Right, and we've taken it a step farther now, and now it's going to be, you know, on that. There are, but I know in my own mind, I haven't looked at documents that should be more complete. And looking at the application format that Terry has brought out is certainly something that I can look at to say, okay, is the documentation complete? So I can make a informed decision or you know, along those lines. So in that respect, I agree with Jim. Thank you.
Can
Andrew, we do previews or workshops on like fresh farms and things like that before they come to us. Is there some guideline on that at all, or just
the code? What the code says is that it's required for PUDs. The workshop requirement for a PUD is that the board workshop it. The code strongly recommends, and staff strongly recommends on a PUD, that the Plan Commission also workshop it. I think the question is, and this is, I think, the question that the board will be discussing next month is, should that be required? Should that requirement for a workshop with either body or both bodies be extended to other types of applications besides PUD? So I think the guidance of the board on this, I think, would be good as well, just to see how what type of direction is provided next month.
Okay.
But the code requires it to be a board workshop for PUDs. The other items that get workshopped are requests made by the petitioners, requests made by staff, requests made, suggestions made by staff, that sort of thing.
I mean, we don't. When you said the board, were you talking us board or village board?
village board?
The village board is planning to discuss this on their April workshop meeting, to discuss the idea of the concept review, just generally the idea of the concept review. And I would expect some direction would be likely out of that meeting.
Well, and I'm not picking on Phil Haven, but was that workshopped with the village?
No, that was not workshopped.
And I find that odd because most of the things, big things, come before the village before they come to us, and they give their tacit approval to say yay or nay, you know, let's send it to the Plan Commission to see what they have to say. So, you know, it just strikes me as odd because a lot of things have gone before them before they've come to us. So I'm not certain how that works. You know, what is going before them before it comes to us? Is that what they're discussing?
I think that's the question. Is
all right, so it's not so much what would come to us as a workshop, but what would come to them for a preview.
I believe that is the discussion. I think that discussion would inform how the other discussion goes.
Okay.
But remember, Phil Haven's not a. It's not a.
It was a variation. That's
yes,
true.
It's all it is.
It was just a variation. Right. Yeah, you're right.
And garage.
Right. But okay.
But it's set in a larger context.
Logically looking at that, and again, based upon history, that would have been something that I think should have been workshopped from the very beginning, even though they were just looking for a variation on parking. It has been, well, it's been a top of discussion in the northwest suburbs for the last year and a half. So with that enough being said, I would have thought it would have been workshop. But be that as it may, if the village board sets the direction, then hopefully we can take something from that to build upon what we think should be workshop.
Can I add an additional comment?
Sure.
You know, I think 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when this first came up, it came up as the result of the Plan Commission policy regarding incomplete dockets, and that's how it all started. And if I can read the policy, because we haven't read it for a long time, right? It says, in order to ensure that the Plan Commissioners have the opportunity to be fully prepared to consider all agenda items, applicants appearing before the Village of Wheeling Plan Commission have been informed and notified in the application materials, that's the stuff I gave out to you tonight, that the Commission will not consider action on any docket for which they have not received all of the required materials. Now, I would presume that all of the required materials are all those little check boxes that go in all those things. It goes on to say the Plan Commission shall continue consideration of any item on its agenda that is not, in the Plan Commission's determination, complete in all aspects. Now, I would presume that means all those check boxes have been checked and validated and whatever, maybe not. Complete in all aspects or has not been submitted for Plan Commission's review a minimum of 2 weeks ahead of time that it is scheduled to appear on the agenda. So I would presume that that means if you get a site plan change or something the night before, that maybe that is a justifiable reason for continuing the docket, especially if it was sent in the email the afternoon of the night before, but you don't read it until the afternoon of the meeting of the agenda, which happens occasionally. All continued agenda items may, at the Plan Commission discretion, be scheduled for a future meeting if the application can ensure the Commission that the missing materials will be submitted at the appropriate time. And that's what started off this entire discussion when the chairman suggested that we ought to have some criteria for doing that extension. At that time, I said I couldn't make a criteria. I thought staff would. They're the ones that fill out the check boxes and stuff. They have 90-day notice of what's coming in, and they work this stuff. And if you remember correctly, staff said, no, we don't want to have the onus of making that kind of decision. All I'm saying is we have a policy, we have adopted a policy regarding incomplete documentation that isn't received in a reasonable amount of time. We're not honoring that. Last week or 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, we all said sometimes we all feel we're being pressured. And now we seem to be saying that we're not pressured.
No, that's
I just
not,
find it.
no, that's not, I don't think
There's
that's
two
what
different
anybody
things.
said.
Are you talking about Phil Haven and the documents that come in the day before?
I'm talking about all our documents that we get the night before, the 2 days before.
All right, well, let's look at
Mondays
those.
before.
They turned in everything complete. When they got the notes from the fire department and others, they normally, what happens is they come to the meeting, the fire department says you need this, this, and that, and they go and do it. Well, they went and did it ahead of time for us, so we'd have it to try and move it along. And it was complying with what the fire department said in particular cases. They had extra drive and all.
So, but it wasn't complete a week before, it wasn't complete 2 weeks before. Changes were being made on the fly. And all I'm saying is.
That continues.
Well, that's your, at that point, if you think you need more time to look at it, you make a motion that it be tabled or that it be continued. But they're doing you a favor getting it to you because they just got the thing from the fire department, so they go and they rush and get it done and bring it in.
Then why do we have this policy statement saying that all docket items must be complete?
If I had my way, I'd do away with that policy statement.
Okay, then maybe we should do that, Mr. Chairman.
Because we
Tell you what,
we got a planning commission.
I'll make a motion that we get rid of completely the plan commission policy on incomplete documents, okay?
I don't mean get rid of it.
No, Mr. Chairman, that's what you said. I am going to make that motion that we get rid of that.
That's not the way I'd get rid of it. I would make it within a reasonable time.
What is your criteria for a reasonable time,
That's up
Mr.
to
Chairman?
staff. And if you get it and we get to the meeting and you decide you don't have enough time, then make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to invite a petitioner with lawyers and a whole bunch of people to come to a meeting and then tell them 5 minutes after we get started that I want to continue it because I haven't had time. It would seem to me that if we know that we get a piece of documentation or a site plan change a day before, 2 days before, 4 days before, something that is not in compliance with our policy, that the petitioner ought to know that it's probably going to be continued, okay? And if he wants to bring his entire entourage of people, that's fine. But I think we should at least let him know that he has not complied with the policy and therefore maybe he should consider just...
Which in this case, he was told that.
And let me make it perfectly clear. I did not say, all I said is when it came to a petitioner coming here, it's our duty to say that if we feel that something needs to be continued, then we continue it. And that the petitioner has that expectation that it could go multiple meetings. I did not say anything about it, contrary to what you said, that now that I can't remember what you said, we sometimes are rushed, and if that's the case, then we come in and we're rushed, even if we have a complete docket, Terry. If we have a complete docket and we feel we're being rushed, then we have that, we're in the perfect right to say, let's continue it. Even if we have a complete document. What you're saying, if the docket is not complete, then we also have that even more reason to say, yes, let's delay let's move forward with it. You're saying two different things. You're putting words into our mouth that we did not say, because it could be a complete docket and we could still have a concern about enough time to review all of the information, and we should continue that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
On this letter that Andrew prepared for us concerning our workshop on April 19th, the second item that we're going to review in that workshop is submittal deadlines. And we seem to be arguing it prematurely. Can we work on it on April 19th? And if we're going to follow the code as it exists now, we'll discuss it then and confirm it. If we're going to revise it and make it reasonable, as Chairman Maloney has suggested, we can do that then. But wouldn't that be the proper place for this?
I think the problem is that staff has, if a petitioner brings a new site plan to them 2 days before our meeting and says, I want to submit this site plan instead of the one that I did, you have to submit the one that they just brought, don't you?
I would say that we are obligated to pass it along. I mean, if they read a staff report and they say, well, in this case, yes, we'll go ahead and throw another curb cut on here and put in the fire lane, here's what that will look like. But at the same time, as Chairman Maloney said, what they are told when they do that is this is almost certainly going to be continued because you are providing additional documentation. So it's not, I don't think the question at that point is completeness. It is time, you know, the time to review the document. So I think one suggestion I would have, and we do have a little bit of time to take a look at this, is just to see how this is worded in a couple of other towns. I don't know that I've looked at them in the past. I don't remember looking at other codes in the past to see if other people have similar policies, how they word it, just to see if we can borrow some language and not adopt it exactly, but take it into account and see how this is worded, how is it dealt with, what are the other municipalities. I'm sure that these types of applications are being presented to the staff and commissions in other towns, and I don't know how they make this distinction between, you know, complete, revised. So between now and when the packet goes out, April 12th, I think I'd like to be able to take a look at some of that and just come up with something, and then, as Commissioner Burns said, word it in some way and see if a revised policy can be approved by the consensus of the commission.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion to delete the policy, and I think, Andrew,
let me explain myself a little bit. How many commissions did we used to have if you wanted to build something here about 15 years ago? You had an appearance commission, zoning commission,
The Plan Commission.
plan commission, was there another one? But they put them all together for a reason. So there's one, what do they call it, one-stop shopping at the time? And to make us a little more friendly to people who want to do business in the village. And any time I see that we want to make a bureaucratic knot out of things, it riles me. And nothing personal, but I'm the opposite way of what you want to nail things down, word and sentence and dots and commas and things like that. And I'm much more open to more freestyle, I'll put it that way. That's where I'm coming from. Trying to make this a place where people want to do business with us, not to push them away from it. And yeah, there's, you know, at any time, if you feel you're being pushed to something, make a motion that I want to table this till I can get more information. All right, I didn't get it in time.
To Terry's point, that if we're not going to follow this, then we need to amend it.
That's what I've been saying too.
So, to Terry's point, he's right. We aren't following what it says.
Right.
So therefore, we have to figure out how to make it so that we, as a whole commission, can live with it. You know, but we also have the issue that things are brought to staff, and staff must bring them to us. So we need to figure out how to make the life of staff easier to bring it forward to us also.
Right.
So there's several things going on here.
Correct.
Yeah, and we'll take, I think one of the options, we'll probably have more than one suggestion for how to revise this. And one option may just be taking the shall and turning it into may at its discretion continue.
But I think there needs to be a time frame. I mean, because if you say may, that's pretty loosey-goosey. You know, I think...
Well, there's a pretty big distinction between shall continue it and may continue it at its discretion. I mean, you're...
But I'm talking about when we get something in, the time frame of which that we can review something. Mm-hmm. And to Terry's point again, he's saying if we get something the day before and somebody happens not to be home or whatever, for whatever reason, doesn't get to their email, you know, we need to have some kind of a time frame there so that everybody is able to either go visit the site or able to look at what's been presented, because it can make a difference. Right. It can make a difference whether we table it or whether we address it that night. Right. So there's, you know, and I also agree that that's why we joined the three, zoning and planning and appearance. But, you know, as a group, I think we have to work that out, and that could take some time.
But, Pam, you're saying the same thing we've said.
Right.
Because if something comes in where they changed, a sign came in and 2 days later they changed the dot on top of an I from a red to a blue and Andrew sent that, are we going to push that to another day? No, we're not. So we can't say that because a document came to us, a new document came to us late, we can't say we're going to automatically move that and continue that to the next day. We can't say that.
But that's what I'm saying. We have to work as a group of what we can all live with.
But we have to do that.
You've got to have some flexibility as well.
We have to do that at the meeting. I don't think we can say before a meeting, or, one, it would violate Open Meetings Act, to say that we're going to continue this, we're going to have our discussion, we're going to continue this the second day because it's now red instead of blue. Or we got a new site plan and there was a small change to it.
What's your suggestion?
Well, what I'm suggesting is what I've been saying all along, that when we come to the meeting, and if it's significant enough at this meeting that we need to continue it after our discussion, then we continue it. I honestly believe that I don't think we're communicating enough with, I think we're all under pressure. We're all under the assumption that there's this expectation by the petitioner, by the village board, that everything's going to get done in one meeting.
That's correct.
And I think we have to manage that expectation within this board on the day of the meeting.
And I think we put that on ourselves, too.
Right, we do. And I think we have to do that. And that's vastly different than saying a docket is incomplete when it comes to us. To me, a docket that's incomplete is missing a site plan for Phil Haven. That's incomplete coming to us. A change because they already made the changes that the village requested, not incomplete to me. They're updating and they're trying to be proactive. That's two different things. Two different things.
We end this discussion now? Anyone have more to say? Any other business?
I guess I'd like to discuss the fire sprinkler ordinance a little bit more. It seems illogical to sprinkle the garage, Norm, when the 6-flat isn't sprinklered. But you know how that happens, because over the decades, the sprinkler codes have changed and they've become, safer for fire and life. And
yeah, but the operative word, Mike, is safer for life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And you and I know that sprinkler systems are for property rather than for life. There's more lives saved.
Sorry, no, I can't agree with you there.
Yeah, well, there's more lives saved with smoke detectors and carbon dioxide detectors than sprinkling a garage. I understand the code.
I can tell you that there's plenty of case studies of lives lost in buildings where working smoke detectors activated and children still stayed in bed. And you put a sprinkler in that room, the child doesn't die. So I don't think there's any arguing the safety, life safety protection that fire sprinklers offer. What you cannot argue is cost versus that benefit. How much are we going to spend to build buildings and put in sprinkler systems and what have you? But just because the 6-flat was allowed to be built in the 70s without sprinklers, doesn't mean that we're wrong to require the garage today to have a sprinkler system, even though it seems incongruous. If that garage gets sailing, the flames are going to be going right into those windows on the north side of that 6-flat that's not sprinklered. And we can protect that building and those people in that building from that by sprinklering the garage.
I understand the code, Mike. It does seem to me to be illogical. Okay, that's a personal thing, and I understand the code, and he understands it too. And he's either going to sprinkle it or he's going to abandon his project.
Yeah.
It's a personal thing, Fire safety has been drummed into my head as much as it has yours, you know. So it just seemed to be illogical. But, you know, I would rather see the building sprinkled, you know, have it in rather than the garage. But that, you know, like I said, I understand the code.
Yeah.
Okay. It was just, it's just, to me, illogical. But, you know, it's still the code. It still has to be followed. Now, if he would have asked for a variation, that's something to consider. But in that light, you know, probably would not have happened.
We can't give a variation on a sprinkler system, I don't believe.
So that's how the airport hangar exception came about.
You can make a variation. You can apply for a variation to me on anything. Here's the code, and this is what I want to do because of this.
Did that go direct to the board, or did it come to the PC?
Well, I think the village board is the final decision making.
Actually, you cannot make a variance on a building code or a fire code issue on a life safety code. The T-hanger issue was a change in the municipal ordinance by the village board that exempted the T-hangers or that type of a hanger from the sprinkler ordinance, just like all the other exceptions that we talked about earlier this evening with the accessory structures. So the change was actually made to the sprinkler code prior to the approval of the...
Can you tell me what the definition of a T-hanger is? Isn't that for normally a single engine airplane? The exception I was talking about was a building that houses 3 or 4 big jet airplanes with an office building and loading area next door.
The T-hanger basically is their back-to-back hangars, and they're a T configuration because of the wing and the fuselage of the aircraft. So if you look at straight down on the aircraft hangar, it's a bunch of T's back-to-back together. I don't know if that's our terminology. That's what they've commonly been referred to since I've been here. In the NFPA codes, they're a Group 1, Group 2 hangar, which is where they're addressed, but here they've called them T-hangars within the village of Wheeling and the Prospect Heights.
What do you call those? What was that recent hangar that just came in?
Atlantic Aviation? That's a Group 2 hangar under the NFPA codes, and which is also incorporated into the fire prevention and building codes within the village.
And does that require a...
Yes, those are completely sprinklered building, hangars and the office portion of the building.
The T-hangars are for the little Cessnas. And
I could have sworn that there was a big 3-jet size hangar building with attached office that got
in 13 years that I've been here, there was the 2 North American jet ones on Wolf Road next to the current one, and those are completely sprinklered structures. The new hangar by the tower, I can't recall who the ownership was, that opened last year. That is fully sprinklered, as will be the new North American jet or Atlantic Aviation hangar.
Interesting. I'll go back and look at my notes, because that was always one concern that I had.
So. Actually, the T hangars built on the east side of the airport property in the Heights several years ago were sprinklered, and then the ordinance was changed prior to the last set of T hangars being built.
Okay.
Those are the small hangars. They replaced those ones at the corner of Wolf and Palatine, the metal ones.
Yeah, the Quonset hut type.
Yeah.
I just remember something coming before us with 3, capable of storing 3 jets in it that didn't need to be sprinkled.
Anything else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?